Welcome to the Rainmaker Podcast, where we elevate marketing leaders inside and out. I'm your host, Veronica Rami, master marketer, executive leader, and mentor to ambitious marketing leaders wanting to advance their careers. Each episode is filled with genuine, unscripted conversations with some of the world's top marketing experts, accomplished leaders, and industry trailblazers representing brands, both large and small. Our goal with this podcast and everything we do is to help you master your role, nurture your team, prioritize your well-being, and evolve into an industry-leading rainmaker. This is the Rainmaker Podcast. Oh, social media. It's a love or it's a hate. It's social media content creation is easily one of the top two areas where marketing teams, business owners will vent to me, complain to me about how much they're not happy with that in their business. And so this next guest, I'm super excited and super lucky to have her because she's really nailed it. So this is a former rainmaker who's worked at brands like Procter & Gamble, who has now taken her talent to the entrepreneurial space, helping solopreneurs and seven-figure business owners nail their social media in a way that feels authentic. And that is Miss Kary Perry, which is always so fun to say because you're like talking about a celebrity in some ways. She's on the podcast with me and she breaks down different ingredients, content that you use to attract, content to nurture, content to convert, what you should do step one if you're just starting out your LLC, and the three things that you should always be talking about. Like, I really loved her very practical tips and tricks that she really articulated well on today's podcast episode. And then we kind of got into her story of how she even came to be in the position that she's in. And it dipped into her family of origin and it dipped into mental health. And I really appreciate it when guests get raw and real. And so I think you're really going to enjoy this episode for all of those reasons. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Kary. Kary, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited you're here.
You're excited. I'm excited I'm here.
Well, and we're matching. I know people can't see us. They're listening to us, but we both got the memo of like white tank top, skin era,
we
summer
understood
vibes.
the assignment.
Yeah. But I'm really excited to talk to you about this because do you hear my like deep breath? Like social media. There's two positions on marketing teams where I get the most, complaints from my clients around, not feeling supported when it comes to paid advertising and how difficult it is, but also when it comes to social media. And I think a lot of people try to emulate the juggernauts, right? The Alex Hermosis, the big names that have these full-blown multi-million-dollar production like setups.
Exactly.
So remember these have lots and lots and lots of money behind them. But then you're like, hey, I'm not that, but I want to also not look so like it's a hard thing. And I have struggled even in trying to like compile the dream team around me that everybody's enjoying the role around social media, because even when I find somebody who's been doing it for a really long time, they're bored of it too. So like finding talent for it is hard, finding your authenticity and your hook and like all like the whole thing is just it, I think, magnifies your imposter syndrome in many ways. And I know that you work with solopreneurs, people who are just getting their LLC off the ground and all the way up to seven figures. Give me a state of the union when it comes to social media in 2024. How do you see it from your expertise?
Okay, first off, everything she said, could not agree more. I mean, really what happens is that people get into becoming an entrepreneur and building their businesses because they have this passion behind something. And then suddenly they're like, oh, I need to be a content creator too. Mm-hmm. Like, who said that? Where was that in the job description?
Yeah, didn't sign up for that.
So what's happening right now, and what everybody is being faced with, and I get a lot of pushback when I say this as well, is that everybody's market is oversaturated. Yeah. Right? Everybody's market is oversaturated. Okay. And that's just the truth of the matter. And we can see a lot of things that pop up online. A lot of people love to say digital marketing, it's not oversaturated. And they'll quote what Forbes said it's projected to be. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of different parts of digital marketing, right? It's one big part of a whole. Your very small corner of it probably is oversaturated. If you're scrolling and seeing a million people that's looking just like you, that's saying exactly what you're saying, then so is your ideal audience. True. Okay. So even if there's plenty of space there, we're just talking about Instagram or LinkedIn or
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. We're talking about corners of the internet. And in that corner of the internet, and in your corner of that corner of the internet, there's a lot of people that's taking up your airspace. So what everybody is struggling with right now is, okay, well then how do I get heard? How do I get
Yeah.
seen?
Yeah.
When this is what you're troubled with right now. Now, I want to take a step back and I want to say, here's the good news. All right. Here's the good news. Whoever that person is that you look up to, whoever, you know what I'm talking about. That
Yeah, of
page
course.
that you just drool over
Of
and that
course.
you just hate follow and you just wish that you could be her. All right. That
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
page, I promise you that when she launched her business, she launched it in an oversaturated market.
Sure.
Okay. That
Okay.
is the good news. The good news is that our markets being oversaturated is not new news. It's the current state of the union, yes, but it's not new.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the people that we looked up to, they also had to battle
Mm-hmm.
with oversaturated markets and they did not let that hold them back.
That's good to know. Yeah, I like the reframe. I like the paradigm shift of that. Like, yeah, it's crowded, but it's always been crowded and it will always be crowded. Now let's move on with the narrative.
Right, exactly. Let's move on. Okay, yeah, there's a million people that are saying the exact same thing. So what? Now, what are we going to do with that? Now that we know that to be the case, what are we going to do with it?
Okay. Well, now you tell me. I'm here at
Right.
school. I'm your pupil. Tell me. So I accept the fact that like I'm not the first one to find gold in the hills. It is what it is. But also like how do I stand out when theoretically I'm a marketing consultant like everybody else, or theoretically I'm a provider in this way like everybody else? Like, title aside or category aside, how do I even try to explore individuality when it feels like it's already been done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So let's just be real here.
Okay. Okay.
There can be another person that says the exact same thing that you say, that puts out the exact same offers that you put out, that their entire platform is basically teaching the same thing you teach. Okay, let's just be real with that. Okay, when it
Okay.
comes to what it is that we talk about, we're not
Mm-hmm.
that unique. We're
Mm-hmm.
normally not reinventing the wheel. We're normally not being that innovative. So then what? What comes after that is really realizing and taking it into your heart and soul and knowing that the one thing about you that makes you different, that makes you unique, that makes you stand out is you,
Mm.
is exactly who you are. So, what you have to do is you have to infuse your brand, this brand that you're building, this beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, all the marketing and sales funnels out there, all the bells and whistles, that brand that you're building needs to be infused with you, with your personality, with your voice, with your stories. And
Mm.
that's where people are missing the mark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here, hold on. Let's do this. I love this because I recently have me and my social media had like a come to Jesus conversation. Okay, because I think I pacified myself for a couple years saying, well, I'm consistent. Like I was consistently showing up. I consistently had content that at least hit my Instagram, but there was zero growth and I wasn't enjoying it.
Mhm.
And then it wasn't until I had a team meeting or like a team retreat earlier this year where somebody on my team lovingly called me out. Jessica was like, yeah, it's like Diet Coke Veronica. It's vanilla Veronica. And I'm like, because I pride myself on not being Diet Coke Veronica. Like I know. And like the Veronica or the V or the Beyonce that we get behind closed doors, like that's nowhere to be seen. You're like almost too polished, too perfect, too like put together and curated. And I was like, well, and then I like pushed back, right? Immediate, like I just did a podcast with Kathy Hiller and she said this beautiful quote on the podcast. She's like, we as human beings argue all the time for our limitations. And I was like, oh, so true.
Mhm.
And so that's what I did in response to my team member, calling me out. I started coming up with all these, like I started arguing for my limitations. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I am such a good person when it comes to feeding off the energy of another individual. But when I'm in my office and I have to pull my camera out or pull out my phone and I'm just talking to myself or to a device, it is the most inorganic, non-energetic producing type of environment. Like I don't even know how to showcase what you're getting in a room with me and how that can even translate to a device, because when all by myself, I feel like a psycho in my room talking to my camera. So I started like just giving her all of these like excuses, I guess, as to why, like, I get why it's Diet Coke. I'm imagining your people probably tell you similar things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hear you, and like there is parts of me that are more fiery or fun or conviction rich, but like I don't know how to draw that out. I don't know how to like turn it on command. Like, I'm not also a star, I'm not an actress. How do you get your people to turn it on? Or how, like, what are some of the tricks of the trade to pull your authentic self without freezing up, because it's such an inorganic process to me
Yes.
sometimes.
No, that makes complete sense. And I'm just going to let you know, like, you're not crazy. Like,
Okay, thanks.
everyone feels that way. So here's what I tell my students. Here's what I tell my clients is that what we're here to do is to build a community. All right. You
Mm.
need to build a community here. This isn't the first time you're hearing it. I'm not Kary Perry telling you to build a community, and that's like, whoa, mind blowing. Okay, but we're here to build a community of people, and we need a community of people who are going to be like minded people. All right. Now, in order to build a community of like minded people, we need to show them what our mind is like. All right. Now, we do not have to share everything. When I say
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
infuse yourself into your brand,
mm-hmm.
infuse your brand with yourself, when I say that, I'm not saying that you need to share everything, that you need to be ultra transparent, ultra vulnerable. This is what I want you to do. I want you to pick 3 things about yourself, 3 things about your personality, about your stories, about your likes and dislikes, 3 things about yourself that you are comfortable sharing. That you are comfortable sharing. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe that's that you're a dog person. Maybe that's that you are addicted to matcha tea. And maybe that's that you have a way of doing the millennial pause every single time that you start a video. All right. Now, maybe those are 3 things about you. What I want you to do then is I want you to share those 3 things consistently over and over and over and over and over again. Here's the reason why. Your audience doesn't have to know everything about you to feel as though they know you intimately.
Mm-hmm,
What they
mm-hmm.
need to know is a few things about you very well. All right. If you were to go to your best friend and ask your best friend some things about you they know, they're going to have 3 things that probably pops off the top of their head that they know about you, that they think about you every time that they are faced with that thing. If they're walking through the store and they see matcha tea, they're like, yep, that's you. Like, and they're going to think about you immediately. That's what we need our audiences to do. So, in order for us to be more ourselves, we first have to define what we're comfortable sharing. Because when
Mm.
you just show up and you put the camera up and you're like, okay, now go be yourself. And you're starting with everything. You're like, well, what part of myself am I supposed to show? Am I supposed to show the part of me that's super professional right now, or the part of me that is sweating under my pits because I'm so awkward in this moment right now?
Mm-hmm,
Which part of me
mm-hmm.
am I supposed to show? When you take the time to identify these 3 things first of what you're comfortable showing, and then you say, okay, these are 3 things I'm comfortable showing. I'm going to make sure that in some way, shape, or form, I always show these 3 things. Then it allows you to be yourself, but in a way that it feels safe. All right. It
Mm.
allows you to be yourself in a way that feels safe.
It's like that game, like Two Truths and a Lie, like where it's, but you're not lying, but I'm just saying, like, you get to like hand pick parts of yourself that you want to share. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes the burden off trying, because like that's the other thing too. I'm not a vlogger. I wouldn't even say I'm an influencer, where like I genuinely don't want you to know where I live. I don't want you to know what I drive. I don't want you to know like the price tag of my clothing or how much I make, or like I don't want you to know. It's none of your business. And I don't want people to feel like I don't want people to want to work with me, through me, to become me. That makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel really uncomfortable. I want people to work with me because I can help you be the best version of you, or to obtain your goals that you had before even coming into my world. I don't want my life to be your goal. Like, that has always made me feel really uncomfortable. But a lot of people on the internet do it that way. They like, I did it, so you can too. Or I climbed Everest and now I can show you how. And I appreciate that. But I think for me it was, as a marketer, I'm like, I don't want to talk about how much money I made, but I can talk about how much money I can help you make. And so I think that was a big paradigm shift for me that I struggled with, because I felt like I had to play that game. Okay, so let's say I cherry pick the three things:
Mm-hmm.
matcha tea, a signature color that I, or like a certain style, or I can pop off and do a TED talk on all things marketing at any given time. Like I've picked my three, and now you're being consistent, you're putting it out there. What happens? How do you not get people to get deflated? Because even in the consistency, which is I think what I told myself, I saw no growth. I was like forever in like 19,000 follower hell. Like I've just been stuck. How do you get people out of purgatory? Because even with consistency, it doesn't always necessarily equate growth to me.
Right. Okay. Now, there are multiple different goals for your content. All right. And just to oversimplify things, we're talking about a sales funnel here. All right. So we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about attract, nurture, and convert.
Mm-hmm.
They come in through attraction, that's at the beginning, that's at the top of the pyramid, and then they come all the way down, or they come in, that's at the top of the pyramid and come all the way down to conversion. Now, you have to determine where your goals lie first and foremost. Whether you are trying to attract a greater following, nurture the community you already have, or convert that community to clients, customers, or brand partners. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with what you just said, I would take from that that you are looking to attract, all right?
Mm.
Which means that
More, yeah.
the content that you're going to be putting out is going to be attraction content. It's not going to be nurture content, all right? Now, I consumed a lot of your content. I will tell you that I binged your page, all right? I binged
What?
your page.
I just got nervous immediately.
Now
Proceed.
I'll say this. You have absolutely amazing nurture content. Nurturing the
Okay.
mess out
Okay.
of your community. All right. What that means is that you're going deep with them. You truly
Okay.
understand what their deepest desires are. You understand that. And you're approaching them and you're giving them insights and you're giving them actionable steps that they can take in order to take steps towards their deepest desire. You are nurturing the heck out of the community that you already have. All right.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to attraction content is going to be content that's going to stop the scroll. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what it is that I tell my clients is that when it comes to attraction content, you are going to be aiming to attract and repel, which means that you need to be saying things that are controversial,
Mm.
that are vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
that are deeply insightful to exactly where your audience is in this very moment. You need to be calling out exactly how they feel about themselves, things that are deeply insightful. When you are going for attraction content, you are going to attract and repel. Here's the reason why. If every piece of content that you put out is for everyone, is going to appease everyone, then there's going to be no one in that mix that's really going to be like, okay, this person's for me. Like there's going to be nobody that says that because it's vanilla. Like you told me before, it's vanilla content, right? When you put out content that's a little spicy,
Mm-hmm.
that has a few jalapenos marked on it, when you put out content like that, you're going to get some people that absolutely hate it. They're not going to come to your page. They're not going to want to follow you. But you're going to get the people that land on that piece of content that you're talking directly to them, that they are absolutely going to come to your page and want to follow along to see what you have to say. The first step, though, going all the way back, is determining what your goal is before you ever create a piece of content.
Sure.
When we look at every single piece of content with the same blinders on, okay, I'm going to post a reel. I want this reel to get as many views as possible. If that is our goal for every single reel that we put out, then we're
Mm-hmm.
constantly going to have reels that underperform.
Mm.
All right. Because we can't have the exact same goal for every single piece of content. So, what I encourage my clients to do is to set a goal, whether this piece of content is meant to attract, whether this piece of content is meant to nurture, or this piece of content is meant to convert. All right. If this piece of content is meant to attract, then that means that we're going to be looking at how many people are coming to our page from that piece of content. How many
Mm-hmm.
page views did we get? Because we're trying to attract more people to our page. If it's meant to nurture, then we're going to be looking at the conversations that we're starting. How many people are we getting to comment on this post? How
Mm-hmm.
many people
Mm-hmm.
are we getting to share this with their communities? Basically, we're looking for conversation starters. And then if it's meant to convert, we're looking for how many people are actually converting to our call to action. Whether that's DMing us, dropping a keyword, whether that's saving the post, we're looking at what's the call of action that we're having them take, and are they taking that? That's our conversion. So when we're looking at a piece of content that's meant to convert, that might have extremely low views. But if it actually met the goal, then that content performed the way it should. So that's why we have to start first by identifying our goals.
It's really interesting that you bring this up because my team and I have talked about this, like which metrics matter most, and because like we've had some pieces of content that have like blown up, like anything with Zendaya does pretty like right, like her post went really well. There was one we did about Justin Timberlake and his DUI. We've done posts about Bridgerton and how Netflix did their marketing launch of that series, like. And so like some of those get the most views and then other ones get like little tiny little bites of views. But then like the post that got me less than 500 views, one of a very, I think, influential person in the industry reached out to me on Voxer and was like, hey, I saw that post and like it was so spot on. And then she asked me if she could interview me for her book. But that's what's hard though, because like when your team is trying to like, pull out what's working, they don't have access to those side conversations. They don't have access to, or for example, like the podcast. My podcast is super, I don't have millions of downloads. I only have it, you know what I mean, a couple thousand, but like I don't have millions of download. And yet somebody booked me for a huge stage because they listened to the podcast. So like those are the metrics that I actually care about, is like how many times was this shared with somebody or saved with somebody, or how many times did this prompt a conversation with somebody of, I think, significance.
Right.
And I think sometimes we define social media success in views, but we don't define social media success in the terms of significance. How can this be significant for us, or how can this help me with my own significance and my personal brand? And that's something that I'm trying to like retrain myself to view social media from a different angle. And it's hard to do that when everybody's comparing the numbers, but that's something that's really become like a big deal. So I really appreciate you challenging us to like re-examine what the goals of the whole, like what's the whole freaking point of doing this, right?
Exactly.
Hey Rainmakers, it's Veronica, and we'll get back to today's episode. But before that, I have an exciting invitation for all of you aspiring, ambitious marketing leaders. If you are serious about advancing your career in marketing and you're looking for an expert to give you some personal insights, guidance, tips, then I'm going to invite you to schedule a free Pathway to Promotion call with me. This is a special one-on-one call with just you and me to discuss your current roadblocks in your career, your long-term aspirations and ambition, and the next best step for you and your personal promotion. Head to pathwaycall.com or click the link in my show notes to schedule your free Pathway to Promotion call. Now back to today's episode. Can I just tell you, your background fascinates me.
Yeah.
Because I know that you are, this guide to helping people with their social media, but your Rainmaker experience is actually, I mean, you've worked for Procter & Gamble, you've worked for some big companies. How does your corporate, highly structured existence influence where you are today? Like how did you get here? I'm kind of dying to know beyond what we see on LinkedIn. Like, tell me your story.
Okay. So, all right. So I'll start off with, my path was laid out for me. My mom, who is my best friend, hey mom, because she's probably listening to this podcast. My mom laid out my entire path for me. We had a deal going into undergrad that she would pay for my undergraduate education as long as I went back to get my MBA in 2 years of graduating undergrad, and then I paid for it myself, or she was going to stop paying my undergraduate student loans. That was the deal. All right.
Dang, mom.
I know, right? So education was extremely important to her. So I followed the rule book. I went back to school after 2 years of graduating from undergrad, and I went to get my MBA from Georgia Tech. And then coming out of Georgia Tech, I received an amazing job offer from Procter & Gamble, blew my socks off. And I went out to Cincinnati, of all places. No sense that I love Cincinnati. Don't come for me. So
Yeah.
but I went out to Cincinnati. I went out to Cincinnati to work for Procter & Gamble, and that's where I really started down. That's what kind of kicked off this path, okay? So while I was at Procter & Gamble, I worked in consumer insights, in marketing, in strategic marketing on an international level. So I helped to lead multi-billion-dollar international marketing campaigns. I was
cool.
recognized.
So cool.
Oh, right. I was recognized for my thought leadership in social media strategic marketing by one of our vice presidents of the company. So it was a huge deal for me while I was there. So then I had the nerve. I'm like climbing this corporate ladder. I'm getting all these accolades. Everything's going my way. My mom is like, I raised the best daughter ever. And then I had the nerve to quit my job. Yeah. I actually liked my job. Okay. I'm not going to give you a sob story that's like, I hated it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
working
yeah.
in the cubicle and I felt like it was just sucking the life out of me. I'm not going to give you that sob story. I actually liked my job. I was good at my job. People liked me. All right. So, but I wanted to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't chart my path up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally written for me. Like, you will go to this school and get this degree and get this job. And it was, my mom set me up safely. All right. She set me up on an amazing path. She set me up safely. I can't thank her more, but it wasn't I looked at it 4 years into Procter and Gamble and it wasn't the path that I necessarily would have chose for myself. I wanted to do something on my own. I didn't want to sell dog food. I didn't want to
Wait,
do
wait,
that.
wait, wait. Is there anybody in your family that's entrepreneurial? Like, where does this calling of the wild come from? Like, is it in your DNA, or are you the first entrepreneur in your family?
Okay, so my biological dad, he
Yes.
was very entrepreneurial, just not
Okay.
very successful at it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
okay, so I think that I got the best of both worlds. I got like his entrepreneur take risk gene, but I got my mom's like be very strategic and make smart
There you
moves.
go. There you go. Okay. There. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. See, I tell my husband all the time, like, you're not in jail because of me, I swear. Like, I think it's just like but there's some personalities that need that yin to the yang or whatever. And so we have genetically, you have some of that ancestral, just kind of like, let's, explore, right? Like to explore the unknown, which I think entrepreneurship is a form of exploring, right? Like exploring, I think, the bounds of our possibilities,
Mhm.
and you don't have a script. There's no map to yourself, there's no map to your future. It's yours, right? And so it's really cool, but it's also a bit highly risky. You were at a great job where you were actually being appreciated for what your contributions, and you had a big name on your resume. So did you just like dive headfirst into entrepreneurship and it's been roses ever since? Or like, yeah, right? Like tell me, like, they have this saying in the NFL where it's like, you're welcome to the NFL moment, where you just get body slammed by like the biggest dude on the field. What was your welcome to entrepreneurship moment?
Okay, so I remember it was a coworker and I. We met each other at a social event at Procter and Gamble, and we decided, you know what, we can do this. We can do this on our own. We can go out. We can do
Yeah,
this.
this is happy hour. No, just
It
kidding.
was
Everyone's
happy
like,
hour, and we were
yeah,
drinking,
yeah,
and
that's
we were like, we
good.
can do anything.
Liquid courage, liquid courage.
We
Yeah,
can do anything we set our minds to.
that's so funny.
After that, we actually hit each other up and we was like, so like seriously, do we really want to talk about this? And then we started getting together at a coffee shop on the weekends and we started hashing out our business plan and what we were going to do. And then a few months later, we both left, we both quit and left our jobs to start this whole new thing. We both
Oh
moved from
my
Cincinnati
gosh.
to Atlanta to start our brand new careers, our brand new company. And we had this amazing idea. All right. We had this amazing idea that we thought was just going to be like gangbusters.
Okay.
And it was crickets. Okay. Crickets. We worked for months trying to
Yeah.
get this thing off the ground and we had everything. We had the logo, we had the website, we had the emails, we had
Of course,
we
you were
had
ready to go.
everything. It's
Yeah.
not all you
Yeah.
need to have a business, right?
Yeah, of
That's
course.
that's literally all you need, right? And then like build it and they will come. That's what they say. So
Yeah.
we had everything and we could not get it off the ground. Like, so it was like 8 months into entrepreneurship. We finally got our first paycheck. I took a picture of that paycheck. It was like just over $1,000.
Oh. Oh.
8 months worth of work.
And then you got to
So
split it 50-50 anyways, but yeah.
yeah, it was wow. Wow. It was hard.
Yeah.
I questioned myself every single day. Every single
Yeah.
day, I questioned, like, what the hell am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I left a six-figure job for this. And
Mm-hmm.
I had just, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real with you because that's why I'm here, right? To be real.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I had just got married. So I quit my job right after we got married. So that's not what he signed up for.
No, it's not.
But I quit my job right after we got married, and I did not like being supported. Coming from my background, I told you my whole path was laid out. I bought my first house when I was 21. I had that 6-figure job coming out of grad school. I was the second youngest person in my grad school program. Like I was not used to being supported. And I was now trying to be an entrepreneur. And my husband is now the breadwinner of the family. And that didn't vibe well with me. And I know that your money, my money, I get it, but I get it. I get it more now than I did then. But I get it. But it was hard. It was hard having to take that step, to not know where my future was headed, to have to be supported by somebody else, and to just feel like a total utter failure every single day that I was waking up. That's how I started.
Reality check. Ugh, sorry. I mean, I get it. I think a lot of us have had those moments where, like, I remember there was one moment where I'm like in my master bedroom, and I'm on the floor because I had littles, like I had the boys, and so they were really little, and I had my youngest like crawling on my lap, and I'm looking at my husband. I'm just like crying, like, I quit my really good job for this. Why? Like, it was just like, why did I do this to myself? Because I was bored. Like, what
Right.
the hell was I thinking? Oh yeah, you did. You did. Like, why did I make the choice that I did? It seemed so grand and so amazing, and then it got real hard. But here you are.
Here I
Here
am.
you are now helping people in their hard.
Yes. So I do want to tell you that the hard didn't stop there. It wasn't just like, oh, and then and then it all worked out.
Yeah.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur now for 10 years. And over those
Okay.
10 years, I've had several different businesses that I've started. Now, about 5 years into my entrepreneur journey, I started a business that was called Curb Creative, where I work
Cute.
specifically with real estate agents. And I went all in on that business. That was the first business that I had where I was building it specifically on Instagram. So that was like my forte into building a business on Instagram. I went all in, and I did it. I did it. I built the business. I had the 6-figure launch. I did all the things that people talk about, and
Yeah.
I did it. I built my account up to 10,000 followers in a year, and I had the 6-figure launch of a course program, and I did it. Yes, I made it. Let me tell you, the day after my doors closed on my 6-figure launch for my course for that company, I was on the bathroom floor crying because I was so burned out. It I was so utterly burned out. And at this time, I hadn't been diagnosed bipolar yet, so I didn't know. I didn't know that I was like rapid cycling through episodes all during that year that I was building that business. I had no idea the stress that I was putting on myself trying to have this picture perfect. I used to photo edit my photos on Instagram, okay? Trying to have this picture perfect persona on Instagram, trying to show up the ways that everybody else was showing up, trying to do it, trying to do all the shoulds that I was supposed to do in order to build this business. And yeah, like it worked, I guess. Okay. Like if we're defining success simply by how much money you make, then yeah, it worked. But that's not success. Success isn't having an amazing launch and ending up on your floor crying and being completely burned out and
Yeah.
in deep depression. That's not success.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up taking off 2 years off of social media after that. 2 years off of
After the milestone, after the success, after that
after that.
high.
After that high, I completely dropped it. I I
Ugh.
I dropped the business, everything that I had worked for. I dropped it. I turned my husband. He's talking to me through the bathroom door, okay? Because I won't open a door, right? He's talking to me through the bathroom door, and I'm telling him I can't do it anymore. I can't do this anymore. And he's like, "Well, don't do it. Just don't do it." And I'm like, "But I worked so hard and I built this up." And he's like, "But if it's not bringing you joy, then don't do it."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's the point where you have to decide whether or not you're going to stay with it or not. Whatever it is
Yeah.
you're
No.
doing. That's the point is if it's no longer bringing you joy, it doesn't matter why you started it. If it's no longer bringing you joy, that's the point you have to decide whether or not you got to drop it. So I dropped it, and I took 2 years off of social media. I taught a high school class. I bought a motorcycle.
Oh, you're so cute. I bought a motorcycle. I don't think we talk enough about the other side, like the underbelly of entrepreneurship, where you have, because I host events, and I remember like the first big event that I put up, and I was like a freaking nutcase. I had these canker sores on the inside of my mouth that were like the size of Texas. They were so painful because I think the alkalinity of my blood, like my pH level in my body was so off because I was so bloody stressed. I had acne on my back. Like it was wild because I was just like, I have to kill this. It's my first event. It sets the tone. Da, 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 da. And I like, and then when I finished the event, it took me, I don't even know, like a week and a half. I feel like I was still on the dopamine crash of the other side where the adrenaline came off and everything. And I was like depleted. And I always thought like when celebrities check into hospitals because of exhaustion, I'm like, whatever. They were just like partying and I just got used to whatever. But no, actually there is such thing as like driving your body, your mind, your soul to a point of just complete empty, And there are different seasons in parenting, marriage, entrepreneurship that you will get to that place in some way. And it's a really scary place. And so I always appreciate it when a guest comes on and talks about it. When, men come on the show and talk about like the work-life balance that they don't have. And when women come on and they talk about like being over masculine and trying so hard and like, it's always just really refreshing. So I really appreciate you disclosing that because it's also a vulnerable thing on your part to say, yeah, like I am diagnosed with bipolar and I have to deal with this. And I took 2 years off, and that's not like the picture perfect story, but I did. And I did something radically different, like teaching a class in high school with kids. And I think that's always, I don't know, it adds dimension, it adds color to, I think, a one note painting that I think the internet wants to portray, that digital marketing is the last frontier. And the truth is, like, digital marketing is just one way to exercise your genius. Like, and there's multiple ways that you can be creative and have expression and help other people. And I don't think we tell enough of those stories. So I just
Exactly.
want to say thank you to that.
Exactly.
You're a dream. You're like a dream. And it's funny, you binged my content and I kind of went a rabbit hole of your content. So like you're one to follow. You're easy to follow. I can understand the appeal for sure. And your vivaciousness, your authenticity definitely comes through. So it's a testament to what you teach your students because you definitely do it for yourself. There's this thing that we do on the podcast where we let our guests ask the last question. I've put you in the hot seat. And so you get to ask me whatever you want. Let the tables turn.
Oh, I was looking forward to this.
Okay.
So, here's what I want to know. I want to know, in your journey of being a rainmaker and being a marketer, what was one thing that you did that you were like, what the hell was I thinking?
Oh, I mean, okay, let me think because there's lots. But which one was like, I mean, I had the same moment that you did where I left my corporate job and I started a marketing agency, and agency life is no joke. Being a service provider, being an agency owner, you're lucky if you have 20% profit, at the end of all of your expenses. It's so stupid. And so I know there was these moments where like even when I was making six figures as an entrepreneur, my brain, as smart as I think I am, did not understand the math behind six-figure gross is not the same thing as six-figure net. And so like I was making way more money after taxes with a job than I was making more money as an entrepreneur, but not understanding the difference between gross and net. So like I felt really stupid, right? So there's those, definitely I had those reality checks for sure. I think one thing that like, I haven't talked about this publicly, but last year I launched a program that you couldn't tell me I was wrong. Like I told my husband once, I'm like, I've never felt more confident in my life. Like I was just, this is it. And I gutted and revised everything podcasts, website, offers, this team, infrastructure, you name it, I touched it in anticipation for the onslaught of success that I was for sure it was coming. I just had to open the door in September. I knew it. And I worked on it the whole summer, and I worked on it with my team, and I put things off, and I cut other forms of revenue. I'm like, I'm going all in, baby, like Vegas style, all chips on red. And I opened doors and nobody came. Like 6 people signed up for something that had a waiting list of over 100. I have never been more wrong on a bet that I was so sure of ever. And that just happened in 2023. So like I've been a marketer going on 16, 17 years, and I was dead ass wrong last year. And I'm constantly reminded that as a marketer, as smart or certified or as many hours as I've clocked into my mastery, blah, blah, blah. Like, in spite of the mountain of evidence that I should know my shit, there are still moments where I'm like, am I as good a marketer as I thought I was? Constantly. And it's funny because like I've really gotten, I don't know why, but now I've become obsessed with the NFL. This was pre-Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift. For the record, I was already listening to football podcasts before that. But I've recently become like obsessed with the NFL. I think my little boys play football, and like, I don't know, it's just so, and I think the NFL, talk about social media, some of the best examples of social media mastery is watching NFL teams. If you follow NFL teams on Instagram, they're phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So the NFL is really good at when it comes to content. They're really fantastic when it comes to storytelling. Every game has this epic story of triumph and David and Goliath scenarios and all these different things. And so I've become obsessed with the NFL. And when you listen, when you watch these documentaries of some of the best of the best receivers, the best quarterbacks, the best whatever, every game or every so often they question if they're good enough anymore.
Right.
And like I was just talking to my husband in the kitchen because he leads a sales organization, and like they're not thriving, they're not doing great right now. And I'm like, you know that every year the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have to try out, even if they've already been a veteran and their mother has been at one for years. Like every year they try out because their spot is not guaranteed. Every 4 years, the Olympians for the country have to change. Every spot has to be re-earned. And I was thinking about that when it comes to like marketing and this what you and I do. Like every day we have to kind of re-earn our position. And so like every day you have to learn. Every day you have to challenge the status quo. Every day you have to take a risk and absorb the burden of the risk creatively. Like, yes, I've been a marketer for a long time. Yes, you've been doing social media. You've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. But like every week we're still cutting our teeth, and we should. Mm-hmm. And I think that has become like such a lesson for me in the last, especially in 2024, because nothing is normal about this year. And every week I'm challenging myself to be a better marketer. And that has been fun and also exhausting, and fun and exhausting at the same time.
Yep.
That's what I would say about that. So anyways, you're a dream. We'll obviously link to all the things, but if you told people to go one place to slide into your DMs and tell you how much they love you and the golden nugget they took from you, and they affirm you with all the words of flowers you deserve, where would you want them to go?
Please come find me on Instagram at social with Kary, and absolutely DM me. So one thing I love to say is that you engage with me because I engage back. I am there to talk to real people who have real lives just like me.
Yes, I love it. And Kary, Kary, social with Kary. Just want to make sure that we're not sending you to the wrong Kary.
Why, thank you.
Well, Kary, thank you very, very, very much for being on today's podcast. You have been a dream, an absolute dream. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been amazing to sit here and chat with you.
Thank you for joining us on today's Rainmaker podcast. Marketers help other marketers. So if there's a marketer in your life who could really use a new perspective in a way that helps them advance their career, please pass this episode forward, share, leave us a review. Everything helps as we embark on helping as many marketers elevate themselves inside and out. You can always visit veronicarami.com for today's show notes, additional links to some free resources and tools for you to help you advance your career. You can always connect with us on social media at @ViaRami if you want more behind the scenes or a way for us to connect personally. Until next time, my friends, make it rain.